The Amazing Spider-Man is directed by Marc Webb and it stars Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Rhys Ifans, Martin Sheen, Dennis Leary, and Sally Field. And here with me to talk about it is Anthony from the SilverScreen Analysis. Anthony, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. You can find me over on YouTube at SilverScreen Analysis. I have a channel just like this one talking all about movies. You can find me over on Twitter at YourCinemaGuy, and I'm excited to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, glad to have you, man. You can check out our Spider-Man collaboration review over on Anthony's channel. It was a fun time doing that video, and we're going to dive right into The Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man starts off with Peter Parker being a child, and his parents have to kind of leave him with his aunt and uncle because of somebody broke into their house and possibly stole some stuff. We're not totally told exactly what's going on until later in the movie, but Peter Parker, you know, he's just kind of an outcast in high school. He's got a crush on this girl named Gwen Stacy. He has to deal with a bully. He gets eventually bitten by a spider, and one thing leads to another. He becomes Spider-Man, and we get this villain called the Lizard, played by Rhys Ifans. He's this scientist at Oscorp who's trying to grow back his arm and dealing with all this animal stuff. He's trying to use lizard genetics to help him grow back this arm, and eventually he becomes the Lizard with this kind of split personality, kind of like the Green Goblin in the first Spider-Man movie, and they have to fight because he's trying to make everyone in New York City a lizard. So Anthony, what were your overall or opening thoughts on this movie?
I could pretty much express a lot of my thoughts from that synopsis right there. I enjoyed this movie and I had fun with it, and it definitely isn't terrible, but like you said, we kind of know about Peter's parents later. I felt that wasn't really developed. I kind of felt like that was a plot device. Peter Parker was kind of a nerd. I kind of felt like Andrew Garfield was maybe 3 films into the Peter Parker character as an origins. I just wasn't buying the nerd aspect. I mean, sure, he was kind of an outcast, but he just didn't sell it for me. He was much too confident for the fact that he kind of acted like he was shy at the same time, but his mannerisms kind of progressed him as not being so shy. He was just a little bit more capable than I would have liked to have seen Peter Parker in the origin story, but his performance was good. And, one thing this film does not have in its favor is watching the first Spider-Man before it. If you want to watch this movie and really enjoy it, watch Spider-Man 3 before this one, because watching the two back-to-back was a stark contrast in just how they developed the characters. I mean, Rhys Ifans was kind of a parallel to Willem Dafoe, but only to like maybe 10%. I mean, a lot of that was the writing and the development. I don't think it had anything to do with Ifans' performance. I just had some issues with it. It was just, all of it just felt very serviceable.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield, like the opposite of Tobey Maguire, he plays a good Spider-Man, but not a good Peter Parker. I thought that he was more of a hipster than a nerd, which isn't quite like how everyone expects Peter Parker to be. But yeah, the story overall just kind of takes a while to get started. Yes, we get this jump start into it with his parents having to leave, but we're just kind of, we go from such a high to really low, and it takes a while to get started, to get going. And just the way that he has to kind of break into Oscorp, that didn't work too well for me. That little keypad thingy with the, I don't know what that was. But the way he's bit by the spider just wasn't nearly as compelling as the Tobey Maguire version, because in the Tobey Maguire version, we're like told that these are super spiders. And in this one, they're just spiders. I don't remember them ever saying that they're super spiders or anything. They're harvesting their webs, and then they start sucking in the webs, and then the spiders just start falling all over the place. But the origin of the Lizard was pretty good. I liked his turn to be desperate. He just became desperate because he got fired, and he's like, you know what? I got one last shot at this, and I'm gonna do it. And he succeeds, but only temporarily, and then just all hell breaks loose at that point. So yeah, what did you think of the casting, characters, and performances?
I think the performances were all serviceable. That's probably a word that I'm going to use a lot throughout this review, is serviceable, because I think they all served their purpose. I don't think any of them were really fantastic. I think Andrew Garfield was good. He just wasn't that great of a Peter Parker, but he delivers a performance and a character that, he's a likable guy and you can connect with him. And Emma Stone was good. She definitely has a charming personality, and of course they had a great chemistry with one another, so it really sells that dynamic extremely well. But when you go back to some of the plot lines of it being extremely just convenient for me. So it's like, he just so happens to go to Oscorp. She's a intern at Oscorp. They meet. Everything just felt like it was going through the progression. So even Rhys Ifans' performance, who was good, none of them just really stand out. Everything just kind of, I don't know. They were all good, but they weren't great. And even Dennis Leary, I mean, he kind of comes in and does his Dennis Leary shtick, and it works for some laughs. He has that dynamic with, you're dating my daughter, that kind of thing. It works, and it's fun, and it passes the time. So, but nothing really stood out for me as like, whoa, that was an amazing performance, like, for example, Willem Dafoe did in the first Spider-Man from 2002.
I think the best performance in this movie was Sally Field as Aunt May. And it's hard to compare the two, the Tobey Maguire's version of Aunt May to this version of Aunt May, because I honestly don't remember the actress's name from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. But this one, she actually provides a lot of support for Peter Parker. And there's certain scenes between the two of them where she's delivering a really good performance, and Andrew Garfield plays off of it really well. And Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben, he was good, but he had to do the stereotypical Uncle Ben lines, with great power comes great responsibility, but they had to change it up because it can't be the same.
Right.
I don't know how I feel. How did you feel about that scene where he has to basically talk about the responsibility?
Yeah, it was just kind of forced. He sells it, it didn't really do anything for me, but I'm glad you mentioned Sally Field, because I thought her performance was fantastic. I mean, that was one of the things I actually had in my notes for this review that I forgot to talk about, was Sally Field. She just had it for me. I mean, every time she was in the scene, I'm just like leaning in like, oh, she makes me buy into how she feels about Peter more than Peter shows me in the story with his performance. And completely agree. Garfield plays off her extremely well, and they didn't really force those characters too much. They're kind of the fall, Aunt May was like the fallback character. She didn't really have to go in and deliver any of those lines. Like, the first one kind of had that campy comic book feel to it. This one was a little bit more serious, but yeah, Martin Sheen was okay. I think both of them were better than the Aunt May and Uncle Ben from the last film, even though they were just written completely different.
Yeah, the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone was really good. You could see that I mean, at first they're supposed to be awkward, and they play that really well, and eventually they start to really care about each other. And the one negative I have about that is the fact that their relationship goes really fast. And
yeah,
they get one date and they're already kissing, and they're like, she's nursing him back to health, and like he's already told her that he's Spider-Man after one dinner with her parents. But
way too early.
It was but it was still pretty good. It was believable.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think of the action and the CGI costumes?
I thought the costume was fantastic. I thought the design of Spider-Man's outfit was great. I liked the evolution of how he kind of grew into that costume and developed that costume. I thought the web slinging was fantastic. That was one of the things that I remember this film stood out for me in the theater, was just how much depth there was to the 3D with the web slinging. All that was fantastic. I mean, by 2012, they had really developed that extremely well. But I was kind of surprised that some of the other visual effects kind of don't hold up so well after it only being 5 years. I thought the design of the lizard was a little cartoonish at time. I thought you could definitely look. Spider-Man and some of the slow motion sequences, it looked overly, like, I don't know, like Matrix Reloaded with Neo fighting the Smiths in the park. It just looked very, I don't know, claymation looking kind of at times, and it surprised me. It doesn't draw back from the film at all, because it's still an entertaining movie that shows mild effort in trying to create something new, and it's entertaining. But I was kind of surprised that it's only 5 years later and they didn't really hold up that well. But it has some good action. I like the sequence on the bridge. It was pretty cool, and the whole, the end fight had its moments, and it had all the visual flair.
Yeah, a lot of people complain about the suit in this movie. I actually really like it. I like the colors. They're really sharp. They pop. I like the fact that he has to cut out the lenses of these sunglasses to hide his eyes, and I thought that was a really cool look. Yeah, they're not like the comic book and they're the big ones, but it was cool. It looked a little bit more homemade, and that's what I thought really sold the suit in this movie. The action was, like you said, it was really good. I liked some of the free running aspects before he gets his suit and stuff, when he's doing like the manhunt for Uncle Ben's killer. I thought all that was really cool. And I do like the aspect of him having to build the web shooters. I never really read the comics. My brother did. But when I saw the Tobey Maguire one, I thought that's just how Spider-Man was. It was always organic, and then they brought in like the mechanical web shooters, and I thought it was cool. Yeah, all the CGI, for the most part, was really good. The lizard, like you said, he's not very believable. When you get like the close-up of his hands, sometimes it's really good. Like you see it being there. But when you see his face, you're pulled out of the movie, and it's like that's a CGI shot right there for sure. But yeah, for the most part, the action is really exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you with that. I like how they changed it up and with his web slingers and kind of brought that other element in. And I actually like the vivid colors of the suit as well. That's one of the things that stuck out to me, just how sharp of a contrast the color was. I thought it really matched the template and the color palette of the film extremely well. And, it's kind of like but I also I'm looking forward to Homecoming and what that suit looks like with a more of a washed out look. And yeah, the action works. It's just like when you go back, it's like you can go back to the first Spider-Man and you can really remember those key moments and those scenes. And this one here is like, I think there was scenes that were, I think like you said, the alley scene with some of the free running and that parkour was very well done, and some of the scenes earlier on are actually more memorable than the third act climax of this one was. It kind of just felt like just a cut and paste kind of comic book movie ending.
Yeah, some of the similarities between the movies, you can see a lot of them, in particular the Uncle Ben line. But even the part where he's first like walking up the wall, it's very similar, even down to the music. The music sounds very similar to the Tobey Maguire one. And when I first saw it, it stuck out to me, and I was a little annoyed. It was okay. It worked for the movie, but having seen the first one, it's there. You know that it's kind of a copy and paste. So in terms of specific scenes, there are a lot of good scenes and a lot of bad scenes. And rewatching this, I noticed that it's like for every 2 or 3 scenes, you get a bad scene. In particular, that basketball scene. When I first saw it, I really liked it, and then upon second, third, and fourth, or however many viewings I've seen it at this point, Peter Parker's kind of a jerk. He goes from being bullied to being the bully, and while it works in terms of the story, the scene overall is it's not well acted. It's not well put together. I don't even think it was well written. I could have done without that scene entirely. They should have just done it completely different at least. But the whole acting from the bully, Flash, when he blocks the guy's shot, it's bad, all the way to the point where Peter jumps and basically reveals to everyone that he is a superhero, jumping from like the 3-point line and destroying the rim. What are some specific scenes, good or bad, that you can remember in this movie?
I mean, some of the good scenes, like I'll go back to, some of the free running scenes in the alley, and that whole sequence was really great up on the rooftops. I thought that was well done. I really liked all the scenes with Aunt May, but unfortunately, it's like I just didn't buy into the dramatic impact this movie was wanting to build. And most of the scenes that I remember are just the comical ones. Like I remember that Teen Wolf scene from the gym where he does that lift off and takes off, and it's like that was just not well done. I thought it was so much more better done in the first Spider-Man with Joe Manganiello in there, and it's like you make him a bully so that Parker does his limbo and he kind of leans back. It's not so revealing as, like you said, jumping from 25 feet away and jumping like 20 feet off the ground, and everybody's just like going back to school after that. I mean, I don't know, it just wouldn't go down like that. And I remember some of the scenes from Dennis Leary and the back and forth with Andrew Garfield. Some of the more grounded scenes resonate with me more than any of the scenes with Connors and Parker and Gwen Stacy, and it was missing that other element that I thought James Franco really brought to the first film. But nothing of the dramatic punch really sticks out to me at all.
Yeah, a lot of the scenes that stick out to me, kind of like you, are the more comical scenes that don't really work too well. Especially nearing the end of the film, but right before the third act, you get this horrible scene where Peter Parker as Spider-Man, he stumbles upon Dr. Connor's sewer lair, and in that lair, he's got a computer where he's been shooting like these video logs of him talking to someone. I am assuming he's talking to whoever's going to find this, because he basically says, "This is my gift to you," and he's basically showing his entire plan, like, here's where you can come find me to stop me. And I don't know why, but they decided to put that in the movie, and it's just a way to be like, okay, we need a bridge from this action scene to the next, and how can we get there the fastest? Let's have the villain spill out his plot to the hero. What did you think of that scene?
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And you can pretty much sum up, and I mean, I don't want to bash on this movie because it is fun and it has its moments, but I completely agree with you. And you can sum this movie up compared to like this being the origins of the character compared to the 2002 origins of the character with one real simple term, and that's like how they developed that dinner scene where Willem Dafoe sees that scratch on his arm, and after all that, kind of realizes that who Peter Parker really is. And then all of a sudden, that kind of other parallel is after they fight in The Amazing Spider-Man, it says property of Peter Parker on the back of the camera, and that's how they developed that. So that just shows you that kind of trend in the thought process of the ambition and creativity of trying to expand it, I think kind of carries over throughout many elements of this film.
Yeah, and as much as I want to talk about like all the negatives about this film, there are some really good positives. Like we said, the action in this movie is really great. Even the final battle, I thought was pretty good. There's a little bit too much Dennis Leary in it, but for the most part, it is pretty good fighting between Spider-Man and the Lizard. I liked how he's swinging around. He uses his web slinging a lot in that final battle, and until they're obviously destroyed. But it was really fun and really cool to watch. What are your thoughts overall and closing thoughts on this movie?
Overall, I'm glad you mentioned that. I really do like the evolution of how he used his webs in this movie a lot more. They did show some ambition in that, and it's a very serviceable movie. It's one of those ones that if it's on and you're not doing nothing, you can watch it and you can be entertained by it. But like, for example, if Spider-Man, from 2002, the first origins with Tobey Maguire coming up as the character, I think that one is on. It's going to pull you in and it's going to gravitate to you, and you're going to get pulled into the plot and everything all over again. I think this one is something that you can just watch, and it's above serviceable. It's very entertaining, but I think it showed some ambition in certain areas, but it just didn't show as much in the story, I don't think.
Yeah, this movie, for the most part, felt like you're watching one of the worst HGTV shows where they take like this really crappy house and they just put a fresh coat of paint on it, maybe some new molding on the trim work and stuff, just to make it look better. But really, it's still not that great. Like we said, the CGI is great. Action's great. Casting, for the most part, was really good. It's a pretty fun movie. How would you grade this movie overall?
I'd give it 80% overall. It definitely has its moments. There's no major hindrances of the film other than some things that you can really nitpick about. I think a lot of the gripes for it aren't gripes that completely kill it being able to be fun. It's almost kind of stuff you can poke fun at and laugh at, but still get some entertainment by it. But yeah, I'd say 80%.
Yeah, I would definitely give this one a B minus. It's like pretty much your grade. There's some good stuff in this movie, like the new Spider-Man logo. It's really sharp looking. I loved it when I first saw it. I was like, that looks awesome. It's not like the chubby looking spider that they had in the comics. They gave it some really cool sharp legs. Yeah, it's for the most part, it's not like it's not a great comic book movie, but it's not a bad movie either. You know, it's somewhere in the middle, and I just thought it needed a little bit more time to get developed, a little bit more emphasis on certain aspects of the character. But you know, it was almost a missed opportunity, you know, with some aspects in this movie. Still, I think it could have been better, but it was all right. So guys, that's our review for The Amazing Spider-Man. I was happy to have Anthony to review this movie. Anthony, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you?
You can find me on YouTube at the SilverScreen Analysis, where I'm always chitter-chattering about movies. You can find me on YouTube at Your Cinema Guy, so come by and check it out. I'd love to talk movies with you guys. And Mike, thanks for having me on. I had a great time doing these couple collaborations, and I can't wait to talk about all the spoiler talk we get for Spider-Man Homecoming after that one comes out.
Yeah, that was fun. Definitely, guys, check out Anthony's channel at the SilverScreen Analysis. He's got some great content. He uploads a lot more frequently than I do. So definitely check out his channel. It was fun. I'm definitely looking forward to reviewing Spider-Man Homecoming. He's going to be doing a spoiler-free review on his channel. I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review on this channel. But then again, we're going to come together for a spoiler review after the movie comes out. So definitely be on the lookout for that movie. But what did you think about The Amazing Spider-Man? Did you like it, love it, or hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up, subscribe to this channel and Anthony's channel. Like I said, he does a lot of great stuff on his channel. And be sure you click that bell icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified of when we upload new content. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.